Okay, my friends, let's get some solutions to this old faithful quiz. All right, so we've got our data in a histogram, which actually we could pull raw data from this if we needed to, but I'll do it in grouped form because it's helpful. The reason I gave you this quiz is to have you be able to deal with grouped form data. I want to know the average and the median length of times, and then talk about. Okay, cool. So we'll get to all this. Average and median. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Excel. And we're gonna translate this data into Excel. Notice that the times are in groups of 5 minutes, and like we discussed in class, that means we're gonna take the middle of each of those. So 55 to 60 will be 57 and a half. Yep, 60 to 65 will be 62 and a half. Okay, so over here we'll put times. So 57 and a half, 62 and a half. 67 and a half. Now there's going to be a pattern. This is actually kind of cool, and Excel will be able to recognize this. We can actually just select those 3 data points and keep dragging down, and it'll continue that pattern as long as we need it to, and I actually went too far. The last one we have is the 102.5, which is the one over here with the 100 to 105. Okay, good. Now we need a frequency count for each of those data points. So we can pull these off the frequency column there on the left. Looks like it goes 3, 5, 3, 2. I'll get those in first. 3, 5, 3, 2. Then it looks like a 7, a 12, and a 10. And then a 3, and a 2? I think so. That looks about right. And you can, I mean, this is a pretty clear one. A small enough data set, it's easy to pull them out. You can also approximate if you need to. All right, so I'm going to do a sum of those just so I know how many data points I've got to play with. Oops. Oh, sorry. Okay, drag the formula too far down. It should stop at E13, not E14. All right, so we've got 50 observations. That's what these numbers are. 50 observations in this column. All right, good stuff, good stuff. Now, like I did in class, I'm going to call the data X and the frequencies F, just because it allows us to create the column that we need over here, which is X times F, right? We gotta add up, in order to find an average, we gotta add up all the data and then divide by how many there are, which means we're dividing by 50. In order to add up all the data, we've got to add up all the 57.5s, all the 62.5s, and so forth and so on. Well, there's a lot of them, right? Like the 87.5s, there's 10 of them. Now, that's easy enough to do. It's 875. But it's much easier, as you all told me in class, to just multiply. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to multiply all the way down. And then what's going to happen is we're going to sum that up. There. So that 4,015 is how many total minutes there were between eruptions. Okay, so everywhere from 57.5 to 102.5. If you add up all those intervals between all the eruptions, you end up with 4,015. So the average, oops, if I can spell it correctly, the average is going to be the 4,015 divided by the 50. It takes the sum of all the intervals and spreads it evenly over the 50, and it looks like it's about 80.3 minutes on average. 80.3. Now I'm going to go back and look at the graph real quick. 80.3 is almost exactly like on this line. 80 is the dividing line. It's just barely in this bar, but just I'm gonna round it off to the nearest whole minute and just say it's this line right here, right? And you might wonder, well, why is it right there? Well, that's the balance point. You've got this bar here and a larger bar right next to it, so you might think that it needs to be more to this side to kind of balance these, but then you've got this little weird little tail over here. So the average is kind of the I don't know how to describe the average. He's running around back and forth trying to balance all the data, and the calculation tells us that balance point is right here. Beautiful. All right, very good. Median. Now, again, like I told you in class, you can't use the average or median or mode commands when you have grouped data. That's cool. So what we got to do is we have to kind of figure out where the middle is. So we know there's 3 are the smallest data points here, and then we got 5 here, that's 8, and then we got 3 more, that's 11. We got 2 more, that's 13. We're getting close. We're looking for the 25th spot. 7 more is 20. And I think what we're gonna find is that 25th number is going to be in this group right here. The 25th number is somewhere in there. So we're going to call 82.5 the median of this data. 82.5, which is a little bit, if we take a look back at the original data in the graph, 82.5 is a little bit to the right. That's because the average got pulled a little bit to the left because of this tail that's down here. Okay, very good. 2001, my God, that was a long time ago. I remember them telling me this. Old Faithful erupts every 80 to 90 minutes. Okay, 80 to 90 minutes. What percentage of the intervals are between 80 and 90? We can actually do that from right here. Could have done the median from right here too. 80 to 90, 12 of them plus 10 more. That's what is that? That's 22 out of 40. No, I just lied to you. 22 out of 50, which is 44%. So 44% are between 80 and 90. What percent are less than 80 minutes? That would be all of these. So that's 7 plus 2 is 9 plus 3 is 12 plus 5 is 17 plus 3 is 20. So 20 out of 50, that's 40%. So 40% is here. 44% is here. And yep, more than 90 would be the remaining 16%, which would be out here. And then number 3, based on everything you just said, what do you think? Is Old Faithful a good name? And I used to always ask my students, why is Old Faithful so popular? And the easy answer is because it has a parking lot right next to it. You can drive right up to it. Which then begs the question, why do they have a parking lot next to Old Faithful? And then it becomes an interesting discussion about frequency, which is the faithful part, but also the intensity and the size of Old Faithful. It isn't the biggest geyser in Yosemite. Not Yosemite, Yellowstone. It's not the biggest geyser, the tallest geyser in Yellowstone, nor is it the most regular, but it is kind of the best of both worlds. So that's not really a statistical thing. That's kind of a thing I've thought about. So I will leave it at that, and we'll talk to you soon.